Hello, chat. What's going on? Hope you're all having a great day. Hold on one second. Let me adjust this real quick. All right. Hope y'all are having a great day. This is going to be the first writing stream. I haven't been live in 2 days. I know it's embarrassing. It's humiliating. I should be ashamed of myself. But I'm here now, and that's what's important. I wanted to stream last night, but I was so sleepy. By the end of the day, I was like, oh, I'm just going to bed. Screw that. I'm going to bed. But yesterday, I did spend all day editing and uploading a video on my second channel. If you haven't looked at that, go check it out. It's a banger. It's a vlog. It's my first time using Final Cut Pro. It's my first time using an editing software that's not CapCut. And anyways, it's more complicated for sure, but it also came out looking a lot better than it would have on CapCut. So yeah, I'm just really excited about that. What else has been going on, man? Yeah, I haven't streamed in a few days, but we're back with a banger episode. We're talking about writing and world building. I have a friend that I want to have on as a co-host at some point, or even just interview him, to be honest, or just chat about writing. Right? I think that would be super fun. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do this, and then I might stream again tonight. I probably will stream again tonight, but we're gonna have to see. You know what I'm saying? I hope you're all having a beautiful, blessed day. W stream. I don't know. I'm yapping at this point, man. Right now, I'm gonna be honest. Right now, I don't have a lot of energy, but I'm trying to fake the energy so that I get it. But yeah, let's get into the slides. All right, here we are. Hold on. Let me put my chat. Okay, so now I can see the chat. Not that there's anyone in there, but yeah. Yeah, let's go. All right. Oh shoot, wrong. Okay. Writing. Yeah. Episode one of write. Hold on. Let me move this. Let me move this out the way real quick. Okay. I'm gonna move it back, but yeah. So this is the first writing stream, episode one, world building. Um, yeah. The Porter Archives for Uncle Mary. Welcome. Okay. What is world building? The definition of world building is the process of constructing an imaginary world, including its geography. I'm gonna move this. Hold on. I'm gonna move this back. Including its uh, including its geography, history, culture, and rules, commonly used in fiction. Key elements involve creating a cohesive setting. Example, maps, technology, distinct, consistent systems. Example, magic, economy, and exploring how these impact daily life. It often includes crafting history, societal norms, and ecology to make the setting feel real and immersive. Yeah, I mean, the only really franchise we've talked about on this show is Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm gonna get into more, especially with the psychology streams, where I focus in on characters. But we're also gonna talk about, we're also gonna talk about it in writing. And I'm not saying that I could do better. Um, I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is the world building in Avatar could have been better. I love the show. I still think it's the best show of all time. You should all go and watch it. But the reason it's a good show is mostly because of the characters. It's not really because of the world building, I don't think. Um, that being said, they do. I mean, this last time I was watching it, let me go to the face cam. This last time that I was watching it through, it was I did notice that they're not like most animes. Anime's typically really bad at world building in the sense that of how it introduces it. In a lot of anime, it's like they'll add something for plot convenience or whatever, or just to keep the story moving. They'll add something about the world, right? That didn't seem like planned before. You know what I mean? Kind of like plot convenience. But yeah, and there are a few like I said again. like the lion turtle in the last episode of Avatar, which we do know now what the lion turtles are because of Korra, and we did get that introduction, and it did get explained, but they didn't make that decision until way later. They didn't decide to explain that until way later. So when they decided to add the lion turtle and everything, it probably was plot convenience, right? Which is sad. Like I said, go peep the psychology stream where I talked about Aang and how I wish his journey would have been a bit different in that show. I think it would have tied together better. And they still could have added the lion turtles as far as the origin to the Avatar or whatever. But yeah, let's keep going. But yeah, so basically world building is like creating the world and the details of the world inside of your work, right? Inside of your form of entertainment or media, right? Whether it's a book or like I have a friend who I want to have on this show. I just said I'm just gonna say it's Foxaloxy on YouTube. I've collabed with him before, but I've taken the video down because I just wanted to reboot everything. It's nothing personal to him, obviously. It's just I got rid of everything right on the channel. Also, like the quality that I made, it was really bad. Yeah, I took it down. But you can go to his channel, and I am on there a little bit, right? And he knows that I'm going in a different direction with this channel, and he's supportive of that. But he's made it clear to me that he wants to stay in the same direction of his channel. But he's also said that he's down to come on my channel and talk about writing and stuff like this ever so often, which I think would be really cool. He's a lot more knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. He did just, and I'm not going to spoil anything from his book, but he is writing a book, and I'm really proud of him for that. And he's really gotten in depth on his world building. It's really cool. And his story arcs and everything. He's basically written it. He's done all the planning for it, basically, which is really cool. He might have gone even further now since the last time I talked to him, but yeah. So that's world building. Preface, yeah. So I made a similar one of slide to this in my cinema slideshow, but yeah, my knowledge when it comes to writing and world building, for that matter, is very limited. I have added this writing segment to the deported archives because I have a great interest in learning more about it. Sorry, I can't read this morning. Oh my gosh. And learning more about it and even publish work of my own. I know several people who are much more knowledgeable than me in this field that I would love to have on my show and give more insight that I am unable to give. That being said, for the time being, I am all there is, so please bear with me. Oh my gosh, I can't read today. Forgive me. Yeah, so this is the video I have today, the 7 levels of world building. Hold on, let me peep the channel. Okay, the Large Lad Studios. The 7 levels of world building. Go check out their video. If you don't like how I paused the video and yap and everything, just go check out the original video if you want to. That's completely fine, obviously. Yeah, really cool people. Or actually, I haven't seen the video. I don't think I'll check out their channel after this. I don't think that I have any, because I do have a few. Because some of the streams that I had planned aren't on the slides yet. I have a Notion, which is like I have a Notion folder sort of thing, document with all of my with all the episodes that I have planned, and I have similar videos to this when it comes to like magic systems and economies and stuff, but I don't think they're from these people, so I don't want to shout them out too much yet. Just because, if you go to my philosophy streams, I shout out unsolicited advice and what was the other one in my philosophy stream? I can't remember. But there was one that I shouted out, which they have a lot of cool videos I'm going to review, that I'm going to react to. There's also in my psychology stream, what were they called? Hello Future Me, I think. They were really good. They've got a ton that I'm using for my psychology streams. But yeah, so go peep those. Go check out all those channels. When I do my theology stream, which is either going to be today or tomorrow, depending on whether I want to do fitness or theology first, I'm going to shout out Father Spyridon. He is an Orthodox priest, father. I'm not sure how the rankings are in the Orthodox Church, and I'm not Orthodox, but his videos have helped me before as an outsider looking in. And yeah, I try my best to fact check him when it comes to scripture and everything. And he seems pretty legit. His videos have helped me in the past. He makes really good videos that apply to the world today, if that makes sense, right? Father Spyridon's really good. Obviously, I haven't met anyone who speaks quite like Philip Anthony Mitchell, and how with the kind of conviction that he speaks with. I really like him as well. But yeah, let's get started on this video. It's half an hour long, so let's strap in and get it done, man. I'm trying to keep the streams, well, I'm not necessarily trying to keep the streams. Sorry, I'm drinking coffee and it's making me burp, but I'm not necessarily trying to keep these streams an hour long. That's just how they've all come to just about exactly an hour long before. I'm not even trying to do that. I'm just going to go as long as I need to finish the video, and I think this is the only video I have planned today. Yeah, so let's get into it.
I love world building. I love world building as a craft because it's weirdly universal. Every creator does
I can't full screen.
Regardless of medium or genre, if you've ever created a narrative or a setting, you've done this. Writers, game devs, dungeon masters
fun.
all do it. Even people who've never finished a story in their life and just have a map sitting somewhere in a notebook. Whatever the case may be, stories have to exist somewhere. And I did a lot of this. There's something addictive about opening up a blank page and thinking, okay, if this were real, how would it actually work? There's this feeling of ownership that I love. I'm building a world that I want to build with my rules. That's world building. But here's what...
Hey, shout out Avatar with the Blue People. Real quick. Shout out Avatar with the Blue People. On TikTok and everything, I see people hating on Avatar with the Blue People a lot, especially, Avatar The Last Airbender fans. And I'm an Avatar The Last Airbender fanatic. I love that show. But I don't see them as competition because they're so different. They just have the same name. So people, for some reason, feel the need to hate on the other one, depending on which one they're a fan of. Dude, now, they're different. I definitely would say that Avatar The Last Airbender is better, but Avatar with the Blue People is phenomenal, especially the first movie. The writing is actually pretty good. I like it. It's a cross-cultural story, which is what I like. I want to make a similar movie to that, or write a similar story to that, just like with my own. I think they could have done better, but I think, and also the thing with those movies is, if you're watching Avatar with the Blue People for the story, what are you doing, man? Like, it just looks amazing, right? And I'm not saying that saves the entire movie if it's bad, but as far as like, it won't make a bad movie a good movie, but just sit back and enjoy the visuals real quick because it looks phenomenal, right? We haven't gotten anyways, let's keep going. Also, Star Wars. I do have a separate Star Wars rant. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan anymore. I'm gonna have a friend who is on my cinema stream pretty soon, I hope. I don't know. I used to be pretty into it, not as much as my friends were, but I knew my way around. But there's just so much now, and I haven't watched it in so long. It's like, where do you even start at this point? Because it's like the first three were made like 100 years ago. I'm kidding, but almost close to it now. In about 30 years, they're going to be 100 years old. And then, but those are actually like 4, 5, and 6, and then the prequels came out. I don't know, man. But yeah, I'm just talking about Star Wars because this is very obviously Star Wars. All right, let's keep going.
I've noticed over the years, not all world building is the same.
World building. Let's focus on world building. I'm looking at the pictures and I'm talking about I'm talking about the show. Sorry. I'm not going to get sidetracked again. I'm not going to get sidetracked again. Let's go.
Look massive. They look epic.
Harry Potter.
They look like an ocean
fantastic.
of
I have a whole nother
and then
rant
you
about
step
it.
into them and realize they're barely ankle deep. But this is what makes world building difficult. There are levels to world building. I think the best way to explain this is something every world builder has done. When you drew your first map, you probably did this. You draw your continent, maybe you sprinkled some beans on the paper to help.
I don't know. I've never drawn a map before, but I think it would be fun. I've never drawn a map though. All of my world building in the past, when I was like 12, 13 years old in Nepal, was just like characters, character arcs, because that's always what fascinates me the most when it comes to writing. And then like magic systems, I think. But I never really, and maybe like lore and history, but I never got into maps or anything. I should.
Throw down some mountains. You put cities near the coast, and then you start drawing rivers where they look cool. They cut across entire land masses. They split in the middle of nowhere. They run from coast to coast.
I mean, yeah.
You've got rivers branching like tree roots,
it's about
reconnecting
what looks cool,
and
right?
crossing mountain ranges for no reason. And at the time, you're thinking, yeah, this looks good. Then you watch one map making video, just one, and you suddenly realize you had no idea how rivers work.
Hey, that's my name. It must be a Lord of the Rings map, yeah. All the time when I introduce myself to people. You're Rohan, like in Lord of the Rings? But I don't hate it, because that is like the coolest country in Lord of the Rings. I'm not gonna lie. The horse riders, dude. And like Gondor is like the main human kingdom or whatever, but it's like the knights and everything. And it's set up sort of like ancient Britain, right? Or medieval Britain, right? But Rohan's, like, if you look at their buildings and everything, it's like Vikings, like a Viking village. It's really cool. I like it. I prefer Rohan to Gondor. Yeah.
But they don't split like that. They don't casually cross mountain ranges. They flow downhill. They converge. They follow elevation. You look back at your old map and you realize how much you didn't know. That's what world building can be like.
It does have to.
Your world is deep just.
It does have to apply to the laws of physics, huh?
Because you loaded it with detail. But depth isn't everything. And that's the difference that I wanted to talk about. There's levels to world building. And if you're building your own world right now, this might show you exactly where you are. So if you're not familiar with this type of video, or what I mean by 7 levels of world building, here's what we're doing. We're going to walk through the 7 levels of what I think make a strong world builder. At each level, I'll break down what defines it, what it usually looks like, and I'll give examples to better help you understand. And just to be clear, this isn't rigid. Most people have pieces of multiple levels. You might hear me explain level 5 and think that sounds like you.
Oh,
but
that's
you
gotta
haven't covered number 4 yet. That's normal. These aren't steps you climb in order, they're more like tiers of understanding. This is an ascending order of importance and depth, but that doesn't mean you're locked into one. It's just a way to classify how you're thinking about your world. And before we get into levels, we should probably define what world building actually is. World building has many definitions, I'm sure, but we're using a broad umbrella. For us, world building is the process of... This guy's
annoying me, and I'll tell you why. It's because he's talking, right? But he's compiled all the coolest scenes from movies, and it's hard for me to pay attention to what he's saying. I just want to look at the freaking scene. It's like, sorry, I gotta go back. To around here. Okay.
Like you, but you haven't covered number 4 yet. That's normal. These aren't steps you climb in order, they're more like tiers of understanding. This is an ascending order of importance and depth, but that doesn't mean you're locked into one. It's just a way to classify how you're thinking about your world. And before we get into levels, we should probably define what world building actually is. World building has many definitions, I'm sure, but we're using a broad umbrella. For us, world building is the process of creating an imaginary world with its own history, culture, geography, and rules to make a story or setting feel immersive. It's
that's basically what I said in the
sits on.
slide.
And if that framework makes sense, everything inside of it feels grounded. So we're going to go through all 7 levels, break them down, and by the end of this video, you should have a pretty good idea on where you stand as a world builder, and what it would take for you to ascend. As always, this is subjective and based
I
on my
already
own
know I'm gonna
experiences
be
and
like
opinions.
bottom of the list.
And if you're into this kind of stuff, please like the video, subscribe. I make
Like
videos
and
like this
subscribe,
every
guys.
week, and it genuinely helps, especially on a longer breakdown like this. Also, wishlist our game, Winter Reach Emporium on Steam. The link is in the description below.
They have
Let's
a
jump
game? Yo,
right
that
in
looks
to
sick,
level one.
though. That looks sick, though. I might get it.
Level 1
I'm
is
kidding,
a
I
map.
don't game. But
And for me, this makes sense as the starting point because it's where most world builders begin.
alright, you start with a map. So I've been starting in the wrong place since I was 12 years old. Alright, hold on. Let's get the notes out. Let's break out the notes. Yes, these are... Oh, this notebook's full. These notes are... Yeah, I run through notebooks like... Bro. I'll run out of room in a notebook before... like anything else, bro. It's crazy. Okay. World building. So... First thing you got to do is make a map. But then you need a sketchbook and everything. I mean, you can use a notebook. Or a whiteboard or whatever. Come on. Or an online software, I'm sure. Or like a computer software. But yeah, okay. World building. Hold on. Face cam. Building. Yeah? Peep that. Peep that. W handwriting. I should do a calligraphy stream. Okay. World building. Number one, you start with a map, which makes sense, but I don't know. It depends. Don't you want to start with the story? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm more of a storyteller, you know? So I think I want to start with the story and then just later on figure out all the details, how to make it connect. But yeah, you should probably start with it. But then again, the world building has nothing to do with the story. I mean, it has something to do with the story, but they're separate things. You know what I mean? Maybe I should check out his other videos and see if he has anything on writing. I don't know. Like writing the story with the characters, right? That's what I mean. But yeah, I mean, this is the setting. This is making sure everything makes sense. And there's no such thing as a fan base without a world, without a good deal of world building, right? Because there's nothing to geek out over. All right, let's keep going.
You get an idea, you
Start
open
with
a blank canvas, and you start drawing land. Now, technically, a map is skippable. If your story is hyperlocal or modern day grounded, maybe you...
So a map is skippable if it's hyper local or like highly local. Okay, hold on. Map is skippable. Sorry, I'm pausing to take notes. Yeah, yeah. Okay, if you don't leave their home, if the character doesn't leave their hometown, you don't need a map. That's what he's saying. Okay, let's keep
most
going.
fantasy, sci-fi, or speculative
Most of them
settings
do,
eventually
yes.
zoom out. And when they
Yeah.
do, your map matters. And here's the thing. There are levels to maps too. You don't have to be a geology expert, and you don't need a degree in climatology, but there are underlying rules. Like the river example from earlier. Once you learn how rivers actually behave, it's impossible to unsee. But it's not just rivers. Why is a city there? Is it near water? Is there trade routes?
And you have to think about trade and everything, and like, and like, you have to think about paths and why they're there, and like, and how developed one society is compared to the other, like one town or one city is.
Is it defensible terrain? Why does that mountain range exist? Does it form a rain shadow? Is it splitting climates? Is that desert there because of geography or just because you needed a desert? Where are your cold regions? Why? What currents affect them? What wind patterns matter? None of these need to be hyper detailed, but it needs to make sense, or at least have an explanation. And on that note, if your world allows something the Earth wouldn't, that's fine. Floating continents and magical storms are perfect. But if you're breaking real world logic, you need to understand why you're breaking it. So let's talk about examples. Take Westeros from A Song of Ice.
Well, also, like, you can have a river that flows upstream, but it has to make sense in your world, right? Or it can be mysterious in your world, right? But it's going to be obvious whether it was on purpose, if it was deliberate or a mistake, or like something that you made later, just because.
Just look at the land. The north is huge and cold. It's mostly empty space. That makes sense. Cold regions historically don't support dense populations. The riverlands are situated between the mountainous vale and the hilly westerlands, leaving the riverlands to be full of converging rivers. This makes sense because rivers flow downhill and merge. Mountain ranges form natural barriers instead of random spikes across the map. The coastline isn't symmetrical or evenly shaped. It feels eroded and irregular. Even the placement of the cities makes sense. Ports are on deep water. Major settlements sit near rivers or crossroads. They're not evenly spaced around like someone dotted them for balance. It feels like it could be a real-world map. Now compare that to something like Kings of the Wild. Again, visually it is appealing, and it does have a strong style. But if you look at it like a physical landscape, things start feeling arranged. Mountain ranges don't seem to follow any tectonic logic. They don't create consistent rain shadows. Rivers split and branch in ways that don't reflect gravity or elevation. You'll see waterways cross land in directions that don't really flow downhill, and sometimes they'll even just disappear completely. The city's in...
Yeah, but I don't know. This might sound bad. I don't know. This might sound bad. Could you just use AI to make your map? Like, if you don't care, if you're more focused on the story, could you just use AI to make your map? And it would have coherent, or pay someone else, right? But like, if you want, this is the thing. Okay? Like, you need someone who's an expert in, because you have to make a map that looks like the world, like our Earth, but it also has to be unique. That's like the issue, right? Because how many people are, geologists, geographers, like experts in geography, geology, history, all these things. You need a scientific mind to an extent to design one of these. If you want to be coherent with the rules of this world, right? But then as the writer, you have to decide what would be different and why it's different, right?
Towns overall follow the rivers, but some are scattered randomly through the wilderness, which is fine as long as you explain why they're there. It's not that it's bad art, it's that the physical rules underneath don't really feel grounded or consistent. And then there's Discworld. Discworld breaks the rules, but it works. Discworld doesn't even pretend to follow Earth's geology. It's flat, it's on a turtle. The cosmology is absurd. But the reason it works is because the physical rules are clearly defined.
Would you guys want to live there? Would you guys want to live there? I don't even know what this is. I don't know what fandom or whatever this is from. That looks sick.
The world behaves according to its own internal system. It's not random. You understand the physical premise, and the map commits to it.
Yeah.
That's the core to level 1. The land has to feel like it obeys rules, whether those rules are Earth's or your own.
Yeah.
Mountains should form for a reason. Rivers should flow according to elevation. Deserts should exist because something is causing that dryness. Cities should cluster where people could realistically survive, and if they don't, you should know why. You don't need to simulate plate tectonics, but you do need to think about cause and effect. The reason this is level 1 is because if the foundation of your world doesn't make sense, everything built on top of it is starting from unstable ground.
Yeah.
Level 2 is where most world builders live, and it's what I call the rule of cool. You've got your map, the land mostly makes sense, and now you can start loading it up with everything you think is cool. You add dragons, obviously. There's a fallen empire nobody fully understands. You have a cursed forest that whispers sweet nothings to your characters. An assassin order operating in the shadows, very edgy. Maybe there's a desert city carved into the bones of a god because you saw someone else do it and you thought that was cool. And at some point you step back and think, this is epic. And it is. This stage is fun and creative. It's where you're just letting yourself build without overthinking everything. You're not worried yet about systemic impact, you're chasing ideas that excite you. You see something in another book or game and think, I want that energy in my world too. The rule of cool is powerful because it grabs attention, creates tone, and gives your world identity all at once. And more often than not, it's normally what makes people interested in your setting in the first place. And a lot of stories fully function at this level. If your characters are strong enough and your narrative is compelling, a cool setting can carry a lot of weight. Not every story needs to simulate political infrastructure or economic systems. Sometimes spectacle, mystery, and strong imagery are enough to make something memorable. So, the problem isn't that rule of cool exists.
Avatar.
The problem is when you mistake it for depth. Stacking cool ideas doesn't automatically make something layered. You can keep adding elements. More factions, more gods, more ancient wars, and it starts to feel bigger and
it can
bigger.
get too far.
But
It can go
isn't
too
the
far.
same thing as
That's
deeper.
true. That's true. That's true. That's why a lot of the stories that I think of in my mind are like, how do I say this? They're like a one and done kind of thing, you know? And they're not they're focused. Like, I really like it when we focus in on a character, right? And maybe the character goes on a huge journey, right? Or several characters, right? But they go on a huge journey where they go all over the world and they do like these insane, crazy things, right? But maybe it all takes place in one spot, right? But the character deals with inner turmoil of some kind, right? I don't know. But the rule of cool, I see what he's saying. I've definitely been there. It's just, it has to make sense, you know, and it can go too far. It can definitely go too far. Yeah. But, I mean, one of the best writers of all time is J.K. Rowling, right? The entire Harry Potter series takes place in England or the UK or whatever, that little area of the world, right? And it takes place in the real world, but there's difference. So she only had to write the history and the characters, right? And like the story, right? And granted, she basically wrote a history for a whole nother group of people, which I'm not saying that would have been easy, but I'm saying, like, she didn't have to draw maps, right? At least I don't think so. Maybe I should. Should I react to other There's got to be a documentary about J.K. Rowling writing, like her process of writing Harry Potter. I should react to some of those. I'm not sure, but you would think that she wouldn't have to, right? All right, let's keep going.
At level 2, your world is wide and full of ideas. There's always something interesting to point at. But if someone starts asking basic structural questions, you might realize you haven't thought through the implications.
This is one of Avatar's problems, actually. This is one of Avatar's problems, is the cool thing, is the rule of cool. Because, like, we get, like, bloodbending is one of my biggest issues in Avatar. And it's the problem with bloodbending is it's really important in Korra because they could clearly tell that it was something that really brought eyes in Avatar. And another issue is metal bending to a degree. Because and it's cool to watch. It's cool to watch these benders find their element in other things so that they can bend them. It's cool. But if we follow this train of thought, right? Because at the beginning of the show you think water benders can only bend water, and earth benders can only bend earth, and firebenders can only create fire, and airbenders can only air. But then we're introduced to sandbenders, right? And sandbenders can bend sand, even though they're earthbenders, right? Fair enough, okay? Because sand is earth, right? But it's like the first glance into, oh, okay, they can bend other things, right? And then Toph invents metal bending, and Katara is introduced to blood bending, and it's like, there are two gaping problems. Number one is airbending, because if we follow this train of thought, there's air in everything, so airbenders should be able to bend everything, right? And that's kind of a question that we just brush off because we like the show and we don't like critiquing the best show ever, right? But it's a genuine issue, right? Yeah, bloodbenders can bend people because there's water inside of everyone. There's also air inside of everyone. Can airbenders do the exact same thing? And yes, we see in Korra an airbender. I think, and I haven't watched Korra nearly as many times as I've watched Atla, but there's an airbender that can like suck the air out of your lungs and kill you, which is, yeah, granted, it's a step in the right direction. It's cool, but airbenders would be able to bend practically everything. Airbenders should be able to firebend because they can heat up the air. Right? We need an origin to this because I don't know. And I might be crashing out a little bit too much on this, but if waterbenders can heat up the water and make steam and freeze the water and make ice, airbenders should be able to heat up the air and make fire. Right? So are firebenders just like descendants of air? But obviously they're not, because we understand the lion turtles and they gave people bending and all of that. But like when they were creating the show, when they were first created, what was the train of thought here? Because I doubt on episode 1, on the pilot episode, that I doubt on episode 1, The Boy in the Iceberg, they had planned bloodbending, right? They added it in because they wanted to make it cool, and it's an anime, and that's what anime fans like. Anime fans usually, my friend included. This is why Atla is my only favorite. The only anime I really like. I like Vinland Saga, but Vinland Saga also struggles with this. When the things that most anime struggle with is like, yeah, every episode you get cool art and it looks amazing. Don't get me wrong, and a cool power system, and the character's overpowered, and you get an adrenaline rush watching it, and you're like, oh my gosh, and the dopamine is firing in your brain like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. But by episode 10, the character has another power up, and you're like, when is he gonna struggle? Which is something that I like in Avatar, because yeah, we see struggle and we see like a degree of reality, but also that just makes me mad, the whole thing. Because if they made it that airbenders can only bend air, and waterbenders can only bend water, and earthbenders can only bend earth. That being said, metal bending shows us how powerful Toph is. Right? People don't really grasp how powerful Toph is until she invents metal bending. Like, yeah, she can see in all directions. That's awesome, but she also invents an entire type of bending on her own, right? And yeah, we also see how powerful Katara is, because she learns how to bloodbend by seeing someone do it once. She doesn't even get any instructions. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but it doesn't make sense. To me, at least. I'm not saying that I dislike bloodbending or anything like that, or that I dislike the idea of metal bending. It's just something that bothers me. I'm not even saying that necessarily they should change anything. I'm just saying it's something that bothers me. Yeah. And obviously, there's no such thing as perfection. Avatar is the closest thing to perfection I've ever seen when it comes to a show. But even it has flaws, right? Let's keep going. I don't know. I just went on a long rant, and I have no clue what's going on.
How does your magic system affect daily life? If this empire fell, what replaced it? What happened to the people who lived there? If this artifact is so powerful, why hasn't it destabilized everything? And these questions aren't meant to kill creativity. They're just the kind of questions that reveal whether your world is built on ideas or rules. And again, this isn't a criticism. This is a natural phase.
Something I like when people do is they make their own world, but they base a lot of it on our world. Like as far as history goes, and you're like, this group of people is supposed to signify this group of people. That's something I like about Avatar, is the Earth Kingdom is China. Like, you can look at the way they dress. You can look at the way that Earthbenders bend. It's Kung Fu. And you can look at the way Airbenders bend. Like, you can look at the Air Nomads. That's Tibet. Right? And it's Tai Chi. Right? The way that they bend. And you can look at, the water tribes, and it's like Inuit people. Right? The way they dress and everything. And then you can look at the Fire Nation is Japan. And you can look at the way they bend, it's karate, right? It's just pretty cool, I think. But anyways, I keep going. So yeah, I think like that's kind of a cheat code, right? That's kind of a cheat code because he said like, if one empire falls, who replace them or whatever. Yeah, that's a cheat code. Just copy our world and like make it your own and give it its own name and its own spin, I don't know.
I probably spent the most time here. It's exciting and it's addictive. It's the part where your world feels like it's expanding every time you open the document. Level 2 is where you figure out what you love to world build. Everything above this level is where you start asking what those things actually mean. Level 3 is surface identity. And level 3 is where your world stops feeling generic. At level 2, you are stacking cool ideas. And at level 3, you start shaping them into things that are truly unique. And maybe even start developing a theme. This is where cohesion comes in. Surface identity is the visual layer of your world. It's the naming conventions, the architecture, the clothing, the symbols, and the way cultures and races differentiate themselves from each other. Yeah. It's when you draw the line between fantasy stuff and this specific fantasy world. Do people in this region use hard consonants in their name? Does this kingdom favor heavy plate or lighter, more inexpensive armor? Do these people build out of stone or wood? Does this empire use sun imagery everywhere? You're not necessarily building deep institutional logic yet, but you are building a recognizable identity. Surface identity is the beginning of what sets your world apart. It's what lets someone see a helmet silhouette and immediately know where it's from. Now let's look at a few strong examples. Distinct naming conventions in The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings is one of the clearest examples of surface identity done well. Tolkien didn't just randomly assign names that sounded fantasy. He built languages first. Elvish was constructed with grammar, sound rules, and internal consistency.
Is that Elvish?
You don't have...
Is that Elvish? Elvish looks like Arabic, right? Is that just me? It looks like a Middle Eastern language. It looks like Arabic or Urdu or Farsi. I could be wrong. Don't fact check me on that. I'm not from there, but doesn't it? And he's writing. Well, no, that's how you read. Arabic is right to left, but anyways, yeah.
To develop your own language, but any kind of consistency will help. Elvish names share phonetic patterns, and the Raharim follow a separate historical inspiration entirely. Place names evolve from those same roots. Because of that consistency, the audience doesn't need labeling to tell them where somebody is from. What that does is subtle, but it's so powerful. It creates cultural separation without having to explain it. I know Gimli and Legolas are from different places from their name alone. This makes the world feel more layered and implies a linguistic history. Even if the viewer never studied the linguistics.
So level 3 is like linguistics of different people, and then like cultures of different people, like going more in depth on each culture, basically, each group of people, and each group of people, basically. It's like he said, is there sun symbolism? Is there moon symbolism? Right? What are their houses made out of? Are they made out of stone? Or are they made out of wood? What's the, I don't know. My brain is right now, but let's keep going. My brain is cooked right now. I don't even know why.
They sense that something deeper is underneath the surface. Clothing and armor design in Warhammer 40k. The Imperium didn't just kind of look gothic. It leans all the way in. Cathedrals are everywhere, skulls are on everything. The armor is bulky, over the top, and almost absurd. The important part is that they don't half commit. The same vibe shows up on their weapons, their banners, their buildings. It's very consistent. Then, when you look at another faction, it looks completely different. Whatever it is, it has its own lane and stays in it. You can literally see a silhouette from across the battlefield and know what exactly you're looking at. But one thing to be careful of with surface identity is going too far. The idea called Planet of the Hats is where...
Yeah, it always annoys me in TV shows when the characters wear the same exact outfit for the entire show, especially in animated shows, but obviously it makes sense because, yeah, that's the character and that's what you're supposed to associate them with. But, dude, it genuinely annoys me. Like, you can get, because here, the thing is, like, you can get 3 different outfits that look similar and have the character switch them out ever so often, you know? Like, you know? Like, they don't have to wear the same thing for the entire show. They do that in Troll Hunters, which, you know, you guys might think I'm a child for referencing that, but I really like Troll Hunters. Yeah, let's keep going.
Entire culture gets boiled down to one defining trait. This is the warrior culture. This is the smart culture. This is the sneaky culture. And then everybody from that place will act the same, dress the same, and think the same. This usually happens when we get excited about a strong aesthetic, and we start reinforcing it so hard there's no room left for variation. Obviously, real societies don't work like that. Even if a region has a strong identity, there's still differences inside of it. There are people who don't fit the mold. Surface identity is supposed to make a culture recognizable. You don't want everybody to be uniform.
Is it just me? Is it just me, or are the main characters usually the ones that don't fit the mold? Or is that not true? I mean, obviously you get characters who, like, are like the born warrior or whatever and fit in perfectly with what they're supposed to do. But there are also characters that, like, isn't it? Most characters are just like different to the rest, and that's why we focus in on them. I don't know.
So when you're building at this level, the goal isn't to reduce society to one trait, it's to give it a consistent outer language, while still letting individuals feel like individuals. Recognizable regional vibes. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar is a really
crazy. I've been talking about them for over half the stream. All right, let's go.
An example for how strong regional vibes get built. The creators didn't just create 4 nations with 4 colors and 4 elements and stop there. They anchored each region into real-world cultural inspirations and built outward from that. The Water Tribe draws from Inuit and Arctic cultures. So much
I just
so
explained this.
Is built
I just explained this. Okay, so this is level 3. Sorry. This is level 3. So what I thought he was explaining level 2 was level 3. Okay.
Ice and snow. The clothing is fur-lined and settlements cluster in ways that make sense for cold survival. The Earth Kingdom leans into East Asian influence, stone walls and agricultural landscapes as well as deep cities. And the Fire Nation pulls from Imperial Japan and industrial expansion. Red and black dominate. Ships are metal and steam.
This movie, the live-action remakes of Avatar are some of the worst. They might be the worst pieces of media ever created. There are some things that don't work in live action. Avatar is one of them. Don't try it. The millions of dollars they've spent, bro, on trying to just remake Avatar in live action. Look, and I'm not saying I'd like this. Remake Avatar with better animation technology, because I just rewatched Avatar and it looks old. Again, everything's hand drawn. It's still beautiful. It was great at its time, but technology has improved since then. Okay? Remake it line for line, word for word. Rehire the same voice actors or get new voice actors who sound very similar and just remake the show and make it look better. But why are you trying to make it live action when we all know it's gonna suck? It's going to be so bad because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Don't ask me why. In a year into film school, I'll be able to tell you why it doesn't work. All I can tell you now is it doesn't work. It doesn't. the humor doesn't work. The humor doesn't work in live action. And to be fair, I've never seen the live action show. Because I kind of knew it was going to be bad, and then my friend watched it and he said, "Yeah, it's bad," and so I didn't watch it. But I watched the movie, and the movie that they made like 10 years ago, and it was so bad. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. Now, granted, it's just a bad idea to force the entire story of Avatar into a movie. Even if it was animated, it would be trash. But, I mean, so yeah, it's a better idea to make a live action show remake, but just make something different that ties into the show. Give me a new story. That's what I really want. But if you're going to remake Avatar, remake it. And don't risk it. And don't risk making something bad with all these changes. Right? Or just give me a new story. Bro, we waited so long for this Avatar Aang. Like, we waited so long for this Avatar Aang movie, and it sucks that it was leaked. Right? It sucks that it was leaked. And it sucks that it didn't go to theaters. And there's a bunch of drama about that I'm not going to get into. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy about all that drama. But I didn't watch it when it got leaked, by the way, because people genuinely worked hard on that movie. And yeah, it's screwed. It's messed up that, you know, it didn't go to theaters, but people genuinely worked hard on that movie. And at the end of the day, it is Paramount's movie. It's not the fan base's movie. Yeah, they did the fan base dirty by not putting it in theaters, but it's still their movie. Right. It's still it's messed up. Like, anyways. Like, we should have a degree of respect to that fact. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah. This, because he's using footage of the live action show, I think. This looks a lot better than the movie. But this made me so mad, bro. It makes me mad every time I think about it. Like, just make, because no one's gonna like a live action Avatar. No one, no one, no one who genuinely likes the original show is gonna like a live action Avatar more than the original. It's similar to How to Train Your Dragon, but to be honest with you, the live action How to Train Your Dragon wasn't too bad. Some of the jokes, like, they were basically line for line in that movie. It was basically a line for line remake of the original. And yeah, so, some of the jokes didn't land. Like, they made some of the exact same jokes as the original, and they don't land the same because it's live action and they won't land the same. But it was all right. It was all right, but I think it would have been better if they just made a different movie with dragons in it and used that same technology and used all that money. You could have hired the same cast, just make it a bit different and write a different story, right? But that's just my take on this. I would never do that. If I ever write an amazing story in animated form or whatever, I would never just have a money grab and make it into live action. That's like the dumbest thing you could do. Because there are different rules for each one. Different things make a good animated movie, different things make a good live action movie. Anyways, that's my rant. Let's keep going. And the only reason I got into that is because he's using freaking images. He's talking about Avatar, and he's actually making me mad when he does this. He's using images from the movies and the live action TV show. What are you doing, bro? What are you doing? I mean, come on, let's be serious. And he keeps doing it. And he keeps doing it. Okay. Well. All right, let's keep going.
Landscapes as well as deep cities. And the Fire Nation pulls from Imperial Japan and industrial expansion. Red and black dominate.
This is the show, I think.
Ships are metal and steam driven, and the architecture feels sharp and imposing. None of this is random. Each region starts with a core inspiration, then commits to it across architecture, clothing, color, environment, and motivation. In Avatar,
okay, you know what? You know what? I haven't seen these clips before. I haven't seen these clips. These clips look all right. I can't really blame him for using these. They look, the scenes look cool. The scenes look cool, sure. I might give it a watch now. He might have sold me with these few clips, but look, it's never gonna work. It's never gonna work as good, bro. It's just not. It's just not. But to be fair, like, this does look really good. This looks a lot better than that like movie that they tried to make. That stupid freaking movie that they tried to make, bro. That will get my blood boiling. Because they changed the names and everything. But like, to be fair, when they were making this show, they could look back on all the bad things people were saying about the movie. So like, they knew exactly what we didn't like about that live action movie and why they had to cancel, because they were going to make 3. They were going to make 1 for each season, and the first one did so bad that they didn't make 2 and 3. So they went back, they 100% went back and looked at what people did. So it's kind of cheating, right? They were starting in a much better spot for this show. And yeah, sure, these clips look pretty cool. These clips do look pretty cool. I'll get to it. But I don't want to be rude to people.
Red and black dominate.
Maybe everyone just looks better in anime.
Ships are metal and steam driven, and
all these characters look. And I'm not saying I'm better looking than these people. That's not what I'm saying. But shouldn't Zuko be like this super handsome Japanese guy? I don't know. I don't want to attack people. But, and I'm not saying I'm better looking than them, for the record. But
architecture feels sharp and imposing. None of this is random. Each region starts with a core inspiration, then commits to it across architecture, clothing, color, environment, and motivation.
Like, Ozai is supposed to be way better looking than that. Like, that's supposed to be a big plot twist. Is like, you don't see Ozai's face until season 3, and then he's just some guy, but he's actually like really good looking. Like, this guy just looks like a Japanese guy.
A title card to tell you which nation you're
in. I don't know. I am being hypercritical at this point, though. I'm never gonna admit that I like the live action Avatar, any form of live action Avatar content.
Picks up on it instantly. That's the power of surface identity.
Back to world building. This is like the 6th rant of this video. I need to do better.
Level 3 isn't about deep structural realism. It's about making sure your world doesn't feel interchangeable.
Oh my god.
It's making sure that when someone encounters your setting, they can immediately tell where they are.
Different now.
A lot of worlds plateau here. They look incredible. They feel distinct, and they're highly polished. But underneath that polish, the deeper systems might not be integrated yet. And that's where level 4 starts.
Functional power, yeah.
Level 4, functional power. Level 4 is where your world stops just looking distinct and starts behaving logically. Functional power is about what's under the hood. It's about understanding that if something powerful exists in your setting, whether it be magic, technology, or divine influence, it doesn't just sit there as a cool feature. It reshapes the world around it. At this level, you stop asking, is this cool? And you start asking, what does this actually do? If magic is common, what does that do to labor? If dragons exist, how does that affect warfare?
Yeah.
If one nation has superior technology, how does the rest of the world respond? Functional power is the point where cause and effect begin shaping the setting. This helps your world because it keeps you from cheating. If power has rules and consequences, you can't just solve problems however you want. You have to work inside the world you built. When something big happens, it won't feel random. It will feel like the result of pressure that has been building. And for the audience,
shout out Dragonheart. I haven't watched it in 5 years, but the dragons in those movies look awesome.
This is where things begin to start clicking. They stop feeling like they're watching events happen because the plot needs them to. They start feeling like the world would react this way, whether the main character existed or not. Now let's look at a few examples. Magic systems in Mistborn. Mistborn is a really good example of...
Yo, my friend has told me to read this. My friend has told me to read this. Shout out him. I might have him on an episode. He's not as into writing or anything, but he's read a lot more than me. I might want to have him on. He's a different friend to the one I was talking about earlier, but he told me to read this. Apparently they eat metal and it gives them powers, which sounds weird, but I'm not knocking it.
Functional power through magic.
Because, Hunger Games sounds weird too. You force kids in a cage and they kill each other, but it's actually a really good story.
The magic isn't vague. It has rules. You ingest certain metals, you get specific abilities. Those abilities have limits. Some are
my friend who's built his world, by the way, has really done this as well. I'm gonna watch to the end and see how far my friend has gotten. And I won't blast him on stream, but I will tell him. He's definitely gone this far. I will tell you that, and him, if he watches this, he's definitely gone this far. Like, he's definitely thought about magic and the specific rules and everything. He's definitely thought about it. He explained to me the magic system, and I was like, wow, that's actually really cool. That actually makes sense. It's cohesive.
Others, and some counter those. Because of that, the world builds around it. There's an elite class that controls most of the power. Political authority concentrates around people who can use it. Assassinations and security look much different. Even how people move through cities change because certain powers exist. The magic doesn't just sit there as a cool feature. It creates a completely different hierarchy. And when characters solve problems, they're solving them inside of a system you understand. That's what makes it satisfying. They're not pulling something new out of anywhere. They're working within the rules you already know. Technology level consistency in Dune. Dune is interesting because it intentionally limits technology.
Yo, should I watch Dune? I've never seen it. Should I watch it? I have no clue what he's talking about here. But
they banned
I'm not going to know because I've never seen it.
That one decision changes everything. Instead of computers doing the heavy lifting, humans are trained to replace them. Entire political and religious systems have formed around that. You also have shields that change how combat works. Guns are no longer the obvious answer. Blades are viable again because of how that technology functions. Nothing feels random. The technology level is constrained, and because it's constrained, the world feels coherent. You can see how that one rule cascades in everything. It doesn't just feel like futuristic stuff was thrown in because it sounded cool. It feels like someone thought through what would actually happen if those rules existed. Political structures in Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is a really clear
haven't seen Attack on Titan either, but it's on my list. I do want to watch it. Apparently it's a really good anime, which you all know how I feel about anime by this point, but yeah, I do want to give it a watch.
Power reshaping society. Titans exist. They're overwhelmingly strong. So what does that do to humanity? Well, humanity has to build walls, massive ones, entire cities structured around defense. The military is central to survival. The political leadership justifies itself based on protection. And technology develops specifically around vertical movement and mobility because that's the only way to fight the Titans. The architecture, the government, and the economy all reflect the threats. It doesn't feel like events are happening in a vacuum. It feels like a world under pressure adjusting to that imbalance. Once you hit level 4, your world starts feeling stable. Power has rules, technology has limits, and magic isn't just aesthetic anymore. That alone is a big jump, but there is something still missing. Up until now, we've mostly been talking about how the world works right now. Level 5 is where you start asking how it got that way. Worlds don't just exist in a static present. That's where we move into deep culture and history.
Deep culture and history.
Level 5, deep culture and history. Level 5 is where your world stops feeling old and starts being old. Up until this point,
I think my friend's gone this far too. He did explain to me the history of a few people groups in his book.
You've made it make sense. The map works. The power
He's got like 2 series
function.
planned.
Culture looks distinct.
No spoilers.
Everything feels intentional. Now, you have to start asking how it got that way. Deep culture isn't just what people wear or what their banners look like. It's what they believe, what they argue about, what they're embarrassed about, what they refuse to let go even though it doesn't make sense anymore. It's traditions that started for practical reasons and then became sacred. It's taboos that nobody questions because they've always been there. And history at this level isn't just, there was a war 500 years ago. It's the ripple effects of that war. It's the borders that still exist because of it. It's the ruins that affect trade. It's a religion that fractured and now has 3 competing branches. And it's stories of how places got their names. Let's give some examples. An example for culture in The Witcher. The Witcher works as a culture example because nothing feels clean or simplified.
Never seen The Witcher either.
The prejudice against non-humans isn't just there to create tension. It feels old. You can tell it developed over time through war, economic competition, and fear. Different regions treat elves and dwarves differently, and that difference makes sense based on their local history. Religion isn't unified either.
I thought The Witcher was live action.
There are dominant faiths, fringe beliefs, cults, and folk superstitions layered on top of each other. Peasants don't think the same way a noble does. Neither do city dwellers or villagers.
Yeah, this is The Witcher.
Even if they're in the same kingdom, beliefs differ. And importantly, people contradict themselves. They hold beliefs that don't fully line up. They act out of emotion instead of logic.
Yeah, because
people
are flawed.
Culture looks like. It's inconsistent in a way that real societies are. History, the Silmarillion.
Okay.
The Silmarillion works because its history is so ingrained in the story.
Yeah, I've never read this. I've read the rest of them, but I've never read like the Silmarillion. My friend has, and my grandpa has, but it's just too much, man. It's just too much for me. But the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings are all amazing.
Major events don't just happen and get forgotten. They reshape geography. Entire regions were destroyed, oaths were sworn by generations, and caused wars in the next. Families will carry consequences forward for centuries. By the time you move into the Lord of the Rings, you feel that history is everywhere.
Yeah, my granddad said it was like reading the Bible for Lord of the Rings. It's like the entire history of the world.
Aesthetic. They belong to fallen kingdoms. Characters reference ancient events as if they still matter. The key thing is continuity. One age flows into the next, and actions compound. So when someone makes a decision in the present, it feels like there's thousands of years riding on that decision. There's a difference between having ancient lore and history that actually shapes the world. Societies that feel ancient, the Elder Scrolls. The Elder Scrolls feels ancient because cultures disagree with themselves. There isn't one unified, clean version of history. There are conflicting interpretations. Different races remember the same events differently. Religious doctrines contradict each other, and political factions reinterpret the past just to justify the present. You see layers of empire on top of empire, ruins from one era reused by another, religious sites repurposed and borders shifting over time. It feels like civilization has been arguing with each other and their own past for centuries. In the case of the Elder Scrolls, layered disagreement and an unreliable narrator make it feel old. At level 5, your world has a memory. Things don't just appear because you needed them to, they evolved over time. Once you reach that point, your world stops feeling like a setting and starts feeling like a place that's been lived in for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But there's still 2 more levels.
Infrastructure and institutions.
Level 6, infrastructure and institutions.
So now you're zooming in.
Level 6 goes deeper than most people will ever need to go, and that's okay. A lot of great stories don't operate here. You don't need to fully understand a simulated tax system to write a compelling novel.
Right.
You don't need agricultural output tables to run a fun D&D campaign. But if you want a world that truly feels durable, one that can support multiple stories, genres, and timelines, this is where you will eventually end up. This level isn't glamorous. It's not dragons and ancient prophecies. It's banking, trade routes, and military logistics.
All the boring
stuff. It's asking if a city has 200,000 people in it, how are
the
they
boring
eating?
stuff in
If
real
an empire
life.
spans a continent, how do they actually communicate? How long does it take for an order to travel from the capital to the front line? If level 4 was machinery under the hood, then level 6 is the gears that make up that machinery. And most worlds will only imply this machinery. Level 6 is where you actually think it through. Now let's look at a couple examples. The Iron Bank of Bravos in Game of Thrones. The Iron Bank is one of the best institutional examples in fantasy. It's not flashy, it doesn't breathe fire, it doesn't swing swords. It lends money, but that lending power shapes entire kingdoms. The Iron Throne runs on debt, and wars are financed through loans. When the crown defaults, the bank doesn't throw a tantrum. It backs the opposing claimant. The Iron Bank doesn't need armies, it doesn't need dragons, it controls capital. And because that financial system exists, political decisions feel constrained. Rulers can't just wage wars endlessly without consequence. There's an external force with long-term memory and long-term incentives. It makes the world feel like it operates beyond whoever is sitting on the throne this season. The Vault Network in Fallout. The vaults in Fallout are one of the clearest examples of infrastructure shaping the world long after the original builders are gone. On the surface, they're survival bunkers, underground shelters meant to protect people from nuclear war. But when you start looking closer, they're more than that. They're controlled ecosystems. They have governance structures and social rules. Each vault is designed as a closed system. That means if something fails, everything feels it. If leadership breaks down, the society inside stabilizes. The entire population is at risk. And because they were intentionally designed with specific constraints, sometimes even social experiments, every vault evolves differently over time. When you encounter a vault in the present day, you find the results of decades of isolated infrastructure operating under pressure. The vaults don't exist as cool set pieces. They were engineered systems and shape the people inside of them. The Train and Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer is basically level 6 world building turned into a setting. The entire world is dead outside of the train. So the train isn't just transportation, it's civilization. Everything that is produced happens on board. The class system isn't abstract, it's physically arranged by train cars. The front controls the power and the resources, and the back survives on scraps. If one section fails, the whole thing collapses. What makes it work is that you can trace almost every conflict back to infrastructure. Who controls food, energy, or security? The train has to keep moving. The ecosystem has to remain balanced. That creates limits. That's the infrastructure driving the story.
There's a show on Apple TV. I watched one episode with my parents, but they watched the whole thing. It's called Shiloh, I think. It was really boring to me, but it's similar to this, I think. Yeah. Sorry.
Level 6 is where you built the machinery. It's not flashy, it's not glamorous, but once you've thought through this layer, your world starts feeling alive. Now it can function without a protagonist or a party of players holding it together. And you've advanced on to level 7.
Level 7. Generative world.
Level 7 is a generative world. Level 7 is the goal. This is what most world builders are chasing whether they realize it or not. It's the point where your world is structurally as sound as it can be. The geography makes sense. The cultures feel lived in. Powers have rules, and institutions operate independently. You've established everything necessary for the world to function like a real place. And once you reach that point, something interesting happens. The world starts generating stories for you. You can zoom into any city, any province, any port, any period of time, and there's already something there.
There we go.
Tension or slow burning conflict, just waiting to turn into your next story.
How many?
You don't have to force plot.
How many like well-known worlds actually made it this far, though? That's what I want to know. I feel like the vast majority haven't.
Not into an empty space anymore. You're uncovering stories that logically exist because of how the world is built. You can follow a king, a merchant, or a criminal. You can even jump back 400 years and tell a completely different story. It all works because the world isn't held together by a single narrative thread anymore. It's self-sustaining. That's level 7. And when you hit level 7, your world isn't just a setting. It's a real world that moves forward even if you stopped writing about it. All right, everyone. So that's the 7 levels. And again, these aren't steps, and you're not failing if you're staying at level 2. A lot of great stories live there. Sometimes the rule of cool is exactly what you need. And the cool part is, this isn't about talent. It's just about awareness. Once you start asking better questions, why is this here? Who benefits from this? And what happens if this changes? Your world will naturally get stronger. You don't have to build level 7 for every project. Most games or stories don't need it anyway. But if you want to, if you're the kind of person who loves zooming out on a blank map and thinking, okay, if this were real, how would it actually work? Then you know what direction you're heading. So, I'm curious, where are you at? Are you loading your map with dragons and cursed forests?
I'm at
Or are
stage
you
1.
knee-deep in trade logistics and institutional corruption?
I do have a few ideas for some cool stories. that are fantasy style that require some world building, but obviously I'm not going to spoil. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil them and give my ideas out, but I haven't gotten very far anyways. They're barely like birthed ideas, you know. They're infant ideas. I need to feed them
2
a little
a.m.
bit.
Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, if it helped you frame your own world a little differently, please like the video and subscribe. If you're
this is a W video, W channel. It looks like I'm gonna look at his channel, see if he's got more stuff like this. Looks like he's got a great game over here. I don't game. I might look into it. Might do a stream with his game. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing a Minecraft stream. I have a Mac, and I don't know. If I had a PC, I probably would have already gone Minecraft by now. But I got a Mac. I use my Mac's keyboard and my Mac's mouse pad to operate stream and everything. I don't know if I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. Obviously, I'd get a mouse. I have a mouse over here. I just don't use it. And I'd only do a survival world. I don't do servers or anything like that. That's beyond me. I'm not very good. But you know, maybe to decompress, de-stress. You know, it's like the only non-brain rot game that I know of. But this looks really good too. I might get into this. Yeah.
It's kind of deep dive stuff. We talk about world building, game design, and all kinds of discussions.
Okay, and game design. So the thing, yeah, I'm not opposed to making a game. I just can't code or anything, so I couldn't make it myself. But like world building and all that's really cool. Check out his channel.
I'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Really well made. W music in the background. Really cool video. Yeah, W video. Sorry. Yeah, W video. All right, yeah. I'm not even going to attempt to recap that because my brain feels like sludge right now. I did wake up like an hour ago. Like I only woke up like half an hour before my stream, but I had to get on. I had to stream, you know how it is. I've been off for 2 days. I'm probably going to get back on tonight after I get off work, but yeah. Hope y'all have a blessed day. Love you all. God bless. And bye. See what's up. Peace. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff.